So now today's class, we are going to try to make our life easy um while designing our different applications, either websites or mobile applications. And in one way to make our design much easier is using components and using reusable components. And by components, I mean like the way you have different elements in our Figma, like the the way we have text, the way we have rectangles or circles or all those different stuff. We can create a component out of it so that um we can, like this particular text, say we want to have this text and then we want to um make a component out of it. So it's always good for us to design our applications with components so that when we make a duplicate of that component and then there's a need for us to change the properties of the main component. By properties, I mean maybe like changing the color or changing the font or the size. Once we go to that main component and change it, it's going to reflect on the other duplicates that we've done. So let's say, for example, this is just a simple text, and then we make this a component. So let's try to duplicate it. So you can Control D or hold down your Options key and duplicate. So let us make like several duplicates of it and see. So if we want to change this, all of this at once, we don't have to go to individual of them to start changing. We can just go to the main components and change it. So as we are changing it, it's reflecting immediately. It's reflecting immediately on all the instances. This is called a main component. This is an instance. This is an instance of this. These are instances of this main component. So you can see on this so you can see on this first one, there is a component. You can see that the icon is a little bit different with the instance components. On this icon, you can see this diamond that is into 4, but the instance is just a simple diamond. That's to show that this is reflecting to this main component. So we are going to now, design a very simple close and open card using these components. And with these components, we will try to add properties and add variants and add in these properties there are different type of properties. So on this part, once you click on this, you can see add properties. So you can see variant, you can see boolean, you can see instant swap, you can see text. So all these are different type of properties that you can add to this main components. So we are going to go through all of that in this class, and then we'll try to create a show card and a hide card, just like the way we have it here. So you can see on this card, we can easily just say we want to hide the buttons. We can click on show buttons or hide buttons. We can click on show paragraphs or hide paragraph, show header or hide header, and you can play with each of the buttons. So that is what we are going to do in this class. So first off, let's start by creating our button components. So let's create our text. Like text, you can just put button, and then on this text you add an auto layout. So there are 2 ways of adding auto layout. You can right click on it and you can see on this place add auto layout. You can click on the add auto layout, or you can just hold your shift A. You hold your shift and click on A, and you add the auto layout. Or let us go through this one of using right clicking on it and adding auto layout. So this auto layouts creates padding. You know, I've explained what padding is. So on this button, you can see it's from year to year is 10. From year to year is 10. So the auto layouts automatically um, add 10 spacing, both on the vertical and on the left side and on the right side. You can see on this part, it's adding 10, 10, 10. That is what the auto layout does. It just add 10 to each of the side of the element to give it a uniform spacing. So on this, our frame, we are not going to make it a component because we want to be able to reuse this button over and over again. So we'll make it a component. And then once you right click on it, you click on create components, or you click on this frame. And then on this right panel here, you can see this icon here, create components. So that's two ways you could do it. You either right click on the element and select create components, or you just go to this right panel here and select this create components you have here. So you can see, once you see that the icon on this left panel has changed to these 4 diamonds you have here, it signifies that this is a component. So you can see also on this place, on this side here, it's showing that this is a component. So let's now try to make a duplicate of this component by either pressing Ctrl D or holding our Options key and duplicating it. So once you change the color of this first one, I just explained it just right now. So we can just click on this plus icon, and you can see it's changing to white. We click on the text, and let's change it to like 333. So you can see it's changing. Then on this instance, we can now, once we are changing the text on the instance, it's not going to affect the main component because it is a standalone. So let's change this one to like sign up, for example. So you can see this sign up is a standalone. Even if we make a second instance and then we name it login, so it's just on its own, standalone. But then if you click on this instance that we have here, and we look at this our right panel, we cannot easily change the text that is inside the instance. We have to always go to here and change it. So for us to be able to add the text property, you go to the main component. You go to the main component, and then you click on add text. So on this add property, like I mentioned, we are going to go through each of these add properties. So we are trying to add different properties to this our main component. So by properties, just like the way you have text, and then the properties of text can be the font size, the color, the spacing, like all those things. But for these components, the add properties that we can add could either be variants or Boolean or instant swap or text. So let us first of all go through this text. So once you click on adding the text, so you can see you click on the text and then it's adding create component property. So the name, we are trying to work on the label of this button. So we can just name it anything, but let us just name it label, so that it's going to signify that this is a label to the button. So the value, by this value, it means that what would the label be? So let us just put this value as our button, but we can change it at any point. So we create the property. So you can see on this part, it's changing. It has shown that when you go to your variant, it has shown that if you go to your component, you can see that it has created the label property. But Figma is signifying us that we have not used within the component. That means you have not used this property that it created for this particular component. And for you to be able to use it, you have to now go to your text. That's where you want to use it actually. So for this purpose, you want to use it on our text. That means you go to your button and then you go to this appearance part on this right panel. You go to this appearance part. And then you can see that it's showing add text property. On this typograph part, it's showing add text property. So you click on this add text property. And which property have you created? That is a label. So you add your label as the property that you created. So once you go to this, your variants, you can now see this label that you've created. You know, like just a step backward. Let me go back a little bit. We are not able to see this label on these our instances that we've created. We could not see the label property that we've created. You can see on this right panel is not showing the label property. So for us to be able to apply it, you have to go to that text, and then you click on this section, typography section, and you can see this icon here, apply text property. So you click on it, and then you click on the label. So you can see that the value that we put while we are creating that label has changed this particular text to the value that was used while creating that text property. So when we now go to each of these variants, we can now easily change whatever we want to change on this right panel. And as you are changing, it's going to be reflecting on this side. So let's say we are using learn more, for example. So you just go here and then you change it, and it's reflecting immediately. So that's a very simple way of adding text property to a button or to any element at all that you want to add a text property to. So on this main one, so you can let us try to play with different. You can just change the colors of each of them. But you don't necessarily have to use the let's change this one to sign up and log in so that it could easily relate. So sign up and log in. So we can now change this to so we can now change this to any colors that we want. Say we want to change this one to, for example, red, for example, and then this is now white. So you can just play with any of this, and it's not going to affect the main, and it's not going to affect this main component that we've created. So on this main component, you can now decide to add variants on this main component. So we've spoken about adding, I mentioned on this property side, you can add different type of properties. And then we're speaking about text. This is I just explained text right now. So we want to go through these variants, how to add variants to a particular component. So you can just go to the button that we have here and the component, and then you click on this add variants. So once you add variants, you can see on this is showing that this is a variant. So if you click on this, you can see this the symbols are changing. This is a main component symbol, and this is on this main part, this is a component under this main components. This is a main component, and this one is a component under the main component. So you can decide to add different variants to this main component, and there is showing that you only have one variant. So you can add a second variant by either clicking on this your plus and then you click on add variants, or on this plus sign you have here one variant, you just add the second one, and it's showing that this is a second variant. You've added the second variant. So this is the first variant, and this is the second variant. So on this one, let's name this our style. So this is our default, and then you can add a second variant. Sorry, you can't add variants. You have to click on the main component, and then you click on the plus to be able to add your variant. So on this first one, that we want it to be our to be the main button. So we can just name it, say, gray, and this second one is going to be, say, white. So that two ways of renaming this particular variant. So you can see this style equals to style 2. So you can just come here and change the name of this particular variant, or you can click on the variants, and on this right panel you change the name. Let's make it white. So this one that is gray, let's change the color so that it's going to be signifying that these are two different buttons. This is our main primary button, and this is our secondary button. So let's make this one to be 3, for example, and then this is white. So this is our gray button, and this is our white button. So these components now are two variants of buttons, and whenever I want to use maybe a primary button and a secondary button, we can just call in these components, and then we can either use the one that we want to use. If we want to use a primary button, or we want to use a secondary button, and then we can easily reuse it on our designs. So let us try to now remember that we are trying to create a colossal open card and a closed card. So the next thing that we need to create is our text, component. So for our text components, like the usual way we normally, just the usual way we normally create our text. You just click on the text, and then say you want to create the first one to be heading, and then the second one to be paragraph. So let's say this first one, we make it say this color, and then let's duplicate this one to be paragraph. We are trying to make a heading and a paragraph. So this is a paragraph. So let's decrease the size to like 20 and make it regular. Let's change the color to like 50%. So okay. So now we've created these two texts. We are now going to highlight both of them, and we'll make it an auto layout. We'll make this to an auto layout. So the same way I mentioned, you can right click on it and select your add auto layout, or you can hold your shift and hold your shift and click on A. So let's try to reduce the spacing in between them. Presently we have 23. So let's try to reduce it to like 8. So let's also work on the let us also work on the we can just put a fill color so that we can properly see our text to white. So this is a fill color. So you click on this fill and then you put it as a white. Then let us also increase the padding in between them. So for you to so yeah, on this first part now, if you hover on it, this is the spacing, the vertical gap. Why is this thing not showing? The vertical gap spacing. Then here is the padding left. This first panel here is the left, and this is the right panel. But if you want to change, like if you want to add padding to both the left and right at once, you hold down your command and then you select it. So you just let's increase it to like 24 padding so that you can easily see, so that it can give us the like enough width. So the top is we have like in between the text, we have it to be 8, and on the padding we have it to be 24. So we can now increase the width so that it's going to the heading and the so this can be um so it can enter properly to our frame. So now that we've created our text components, both the heading and the paragraph, we can now create our this is inside a frame. Okay, so we can now call in bring our icons. So I've showed us different ways of bringing in icons. I don't have to go through that again. But on this bottom place here, you can see actions that are resources. You click on the resources part and then you go to your plugins. So we can bring in any icon that we want, but let's just go to the side icons, and let's use the icons on this place. So we are bringing in these icons here, and then we want the plus sign. So we bring in the plus. Hope you are seeing our icons. Bring in the plus. Then we have the minus. Then we also need the down and the bottom. So we want to be able to work with, like anytime you want to design a show card and a hide card, you have to either make use of this. So like the way we have our questionnaires, if you click on arrow, like if you are going through all these FAQs we have on websites, if you click on the arrow, it will, if this is the default one, once you click on it, it will show the contents, and once you click on the arrow, it hide the contents. So that's the reason why we are downloading this type of icons, to either show our content on our card or hide our contents in our card. So we can select all this. Let's try to make it a little bit bigger. This is 24. Since we are okay, this is not. Let's unlock it and then make it to be like ×2 of the initial size, which is 48. Let's make it 48. Let's make each of the icons in 48 so that it can be big enough for what you want to use it for. So now we've increased all the whole icons. We can now make it to align horizontal, make it to distribute so it can be aligned. We can even put a frame like under the icons so that you can see what you are making use of. So on this frame, you can even make it to on this layout section. If you hover on this icon here, you can see the size to fit. Once you resize it, you can now fit the different icons that you're making use of. So let us select all our icons. Let's select all our icons first and make it. So if you select all our icons, and then you can see on this part, it's showing create components. But we don't want to make all these 4 icons to be one component. We want to make it a component of its own. So we can go to each of these components and then create properties for it. So if we make all these icons a single component, we'll not be able to add the different properties that we need to add on this component. So on this component section, this create component, you click on this arrow, and then you can see create multiple components on this my right hand side. You click on create multiple components. That means it's going to create each of them as a single component of its own, and not all of them as a single component, as one component. You can see, like I said, once it's a component, the icon has changed to these 4 diamonds together, and it's showing that these are all components. So let us put this frame so that we can see each of these. Then let's make it to resize. So you can see each of these icons we have. This is our plus icon, minus icon, up and down icons. So let's try to duplicate this plus icon. Then by duplicating, you can do Control D. That's Control D, or hold down your Options key and select it and drag it. So they are also duplicating it, or you can just right click on it and duplicate. Select duplicate. So whichever options you want to use. So once you duplicate this icon, let's now drag it to our frame. So you can see it's now on the frame. So as you're adding element, this our frame is always going to be adjusting according to the elements that we are adding. So even if we add a second element here, you can see that the frame is adjusting according to the content that is within it, because it is on an auto layout. So it's always going to be adjusting according to the components that is inside of it. So let's try to make this plus button to come to the right hand side. Like we want to shift this plus to come to the right hand side, so that once you want to click on plus or click on minus, it's going to be placed on the right hand side. So we are going to make, so you can see on this section, you see this frame, this is a frame, and this is our frame. So inside our frame, we have heading, we have paragraph, and we have our plus icon. So we will first of all select our two text and make it to be grouped together. So by making it to be grouped together, we just make it a frame, and then you click on the auto layout the same way I've been doing. Your shift A, and then you make it an auto layout. So you can see inside this frame, we have a frame, and then we have our icons. So on this frame, I hope you guys are looking at this left panel. So on this frame, this is our text. This contain our text is the heading and the paragraph, and below it is our icon. So we can even change the direction of, once you change it from here, it's just going to change. Like it's not going to affect any arrangement or affect anything, because this frame is an auto layout. That's changing any elements on our frames or on our designs is going to be very easy once all our designs are inside a frame or inside an auto layout. So on this on this, so we are still trying to make this plus to come to the right hand side. We are still trying to make it to come to the right hand side. We are now going to wrap this our text and this button. We'll now make both of them to be an auto layout. So if you notice, we first of all make this text first to be an auto layout, because we are trying to group like everything about the left content and the right. Because on a particular row, for example, you can have left and right. So we are trying to make it so that this heading will be grouped into to be grouped in one part, and then our icon can now come as a second group. So we can now highlight this our text and our icon, and also make it an auto layout. Once make an auto layout, you can now change the direction. So on this part now, it's showing vertical layout, but we want to make it to be horizontal layout, so that our icon can now come by the right hand side, not down. If it's vertical, if it's horizontal and vertical, it's going to, our icon is going to be down, but we want our icon to be right, so we are going to change it to horizontal layout. We can even make it to be at the center, like this align center we have here. We can make it to be at the center, so that our plus is aligned at the center of these two texts. So we have now created our frames, and then you can see it's having our text, having our text component, is having our icon. So this first one, let's create the first one as the first row that we have, and this is let's name it a card. So this is our card. So this is the first row, and then we now have our frame. That's our texts, the heading and the paragraph, and then we have our icons by the right hand side. So there's always a like a hierarchy. So Figma just groups how all our elements appears. If one is inside the other, it's always going to be arranging like that on our left panel. So let's bring in our our two, let's bring in our two buttons that we created initially. So on this button, so it's still also creating this it's still also having the same thing that we just created on this first row. So on this second one, we want to make it so that this first button is going to be this second button is going to be beside this first one. So by doing it, to select your tool. So let us name it button. Let's name these things button, so I can be very obvious that we are working with buttons here. So you select your two buttons and then you make it an auto layout. So you you can right click on it and then you select auto layout, or you hold down your shift and click on A. So once you select the auto layout, the same thing that we did in this first row. So we change it to, from this vertical, we change it to horizontal. And then you can see our two buttons are now sitting on a single horizontal line. So let's change this to row. So on this card, we have two rows. This is our first row, and this is our second row. So inside the second row, we have the buttons, the two buttons. You can see on this card, however you want to change it, it's always going to be, this plus is always going to be by the right hand side. But in a scenario where you have maybe on this part, let's change this to our contents. On this part, on this your contents part now. Like maybe for example, this plus is not sitting always on this right hand side. You have to make sure that on this your contents is showing fill container, because if it's on a fixed width and you are changing the width of this frame, you can see that this is not going to, the content inside is not going to change according to the width of the frame. But if you go to your content and then you make it that it's on fill container, this fill container means that however the size of the frame, the content is going to adjust to that side of the frame. So you can see as we are making it so no matter how wide it is, it's always going to be adjusting to the size of the frame. So that is that's a very simple illustration of how to use both the text, how to create a text component and how to create a variant. That's a variant component. So if you click on, okay, you can see on this, okay, let's take it, all right. So let's try to make this entire card a component of its own, because you know that our goal is that we are trying to create a card that you can easily hide the content and we can easily show the content. So let us duplicate this component, and by duplicate, okay, we didn't make it a component first. We therefore make this card a component by the same way. You can by click components, or on this over section you click on create components. So you can see the symbol has changed. So once you duplicate it, that's, you're making an instance. So a duplicate of a component is called an instance. So you can see on this first one, this card, this is a component, and this one, this is an instance. You can see Figma is even helping you to name it. So this first one is an instance, this person is a component, and this one is an instance. So this is an instance of this main component. Now, we have gone through, on this add property part, we have gone through text, we've gone through variants. Now, let us see how the instance swap work. So you know that we have created an instance. So this is an instance of this particular one. But for anything that you want, for anything that you want to do to a particular element, you have to make that changes on the main component. Always remember that for it to be able to reflect on this instance. So even if you want to change a particular thing on just this, you have to go to your main component and then you change whatever you want to change, and it's just going to reflect on your instance. So let's try to create our instance swap. So you select add property, and then you select on instance swap. So you can see here we have our instance swap, and then you select it. So the essence of creating this instance swap is that, so you can see the name swap. You want a scenario where you can, I don't know if you've seen buttons, like some buttons that you can have an icon before the button, or some you don't have to use an icon. So the instant swap is that I want to be able to change. You know that we have different icons here. We have our plus, our minus, our arrow up and arrow down. So I want to be able to change this arrow comfortably without coming and, as in, without duplicating, removing this icon and putting in the minus. So that's the essence of having an instant swap. So you can easily change anything you want to change in your components without coming to the single components and trying to change, maybe make this particular one, you want to change it from plus to minus. You have to be going through this process. But if you have the instant swap on this component, you can easily change any icons you want to change. That's for instance. So on this, your add property, you click on add property and then you click on your instant swap. So since we want to make an example of an icon, so let us just name it icons. There are so many things you can always change, because there are some cards that we have that maybe, like, even if you want to change like illustrations, remember that there was a card that I designed that had different illustrations. I don't know if I can go to that card. You can have different illustrations. Yeah. Was it here I designed it? No, I don't think it was here. It wasn't here. Don't so fit. Okay. I have, okay, this particular one, for example, we can do this same instance swap, that once you just come here and then you want to change this particular image to this image, you just go and then you click on the instance swap to able to change different illustrations or change icons or change different thing you want to change without even coming to that main element and changing it. So for this particular one, we are trying to work with icons. So let us just name this our particular component property icons. And then we want the default to be plus. So we are going to select the plus icon as our default. So the other ones we can now change it to, this is the preferred values. So we want to be able to change this plus to either of these, either the arrow down or the arrow up or the minus or the plus. So you can just select all of this and then we create the property. So if you go to our if you go to our instance, it's showing that we've not yet added this. If you go to our instance, for example, we cannot change the plus to minus or minus to arrow down because we've not yet link this this particular icon to the property that we've created. So you click on the icon and then you try to link it. They are trying to link. Remember that we've created this particular the icons property. So you click on apply instant swap property. That's on this up place. You can see the plus here on this icon. Like if you are confused on what this each of this icon means, you can just be hovering on it, and then it's telling you what this icon is. So for this one, we are trying to apply what we've created to this icon. So once we click on apply instance swap property, and then what are we trying to apply is the icon. So we click on the icons. And once we go to our instance, you can see that it has now reflected. So if you want to change it to minus, you can see it's changing to minus. If you want to change it to up, if you want to change it to down. So whatever is this same thing. Say we have like different cards on our designs, and then we've created different frames for it. But we want to change either the images or the illustrations in each of the cards. We just go to each of them, and then when we've created our properties, we can just change it to whatever you want to change. You can see how we can easily swap in between different icons without coming here to start altering or changing the icons itself and themselves. So let me delete this. This was just an example. So we have gone through this creating a particular how to apply instant swap property to this our main components. So the last property we have here is our boolean. So I've gone through the text. I've gone through the instant swap. I hope you understood each of them. And I've gone through the variant. So now let us see how this boolean works. And boolean, just like in our secondary school, I'm sure we've heard boolean before. Boolean is just a true or a false. Either something is showing or something is not showing. So that is just what boolean is. So we want to be able to apply boolean to the buttons. So we want the buttons to either show or the buttons should not show. And by so doing, you have to apply boolean to your main component. So I've mentioned before that any property you want to add, you have to always go to your main component to be able to add that property. So now we are working with boolean. So we click on this boolean, and then we want to be able to show our buttons. So let us just name this boolean property show buttons, and then the default is going to be true. Like I said, boolean is just a true or false. It's not it's a nothing or nothing less. So we can use this show buttons, and then we have this true. So the true is our default. So let us create property. So we create our property, and you can see once you click on this, you can see our icons property that we've created initially, and you can see our show button property. So figure is always going to signify you when you've not used, like when you've not linked a property to your component. So that is something is showing here. This I is not used within property. So that will always signify you that this your new property, you haven't yet used it in your component. So you have to link whatever property that you are trying to create to any element you want to use it on. So like even if you want to hide or show this text, you have to link it to where you want to actually use that property for Figma to know that, okay, this is where this property is going to work on. So you select this the button That's the button that we want to hide and show. And then you click on apply Boolean property. So the same way we applied our text property on this initial text, we also apply our Boolean property on this button. So once we click on this show, we can see under this appearance on this first icon. So if you are confused about the icons, you can always be hovering on it to see what these icons are for. So on this one is showing high, but we don't want, so we want to use apply Boolean property. So we click on the apply Boolean property, and then what property do you want to add to it? So you just click on the show button that you've already created. So we want to add the show buttons. So we click on show buttons. So you can see that it is now linked. So this row is now linked to the show buttons property that we initially created. So if you click on your main components, it's now showing that these are your two properties, icons and buttons. So if you go to your instance, you can see all the properties that we've created. The first one is your icons. You can change the icons, and you can now show your button or hide your button. So for now, these are the two properties that we've created, and we can see how we are using it on our instance. So no matter the amount of instance you have, you can always use all the properties that were created on your main component. So even if you come here and then you want to hide a button, you come here, you want to change it to close, you can just do however you want to do on this your instance, and it's very, very easy to work on this way. So let's change this to minus, for example. Then we have so you can see how very easy it is for us to work on. So added properties to these icons, to be able to change these icons from plus to minus or arrow down to arrow bottom. Then you can see that we also work on these buttons to be able to show or hide our buttons. But this our text, there's nothing showing for this text. You cannot easily change this text. If we want to change the text, we have to always go inside this and start changing it. But to make it very easy, so that we can easily change this text without having to go inside this, we have to go back to our main component to add the text property on each of these texts. So for you to add this text property, you click on, let's say, paragraph first of all, and then under this appearance part, you can see is it appearance? You can see this is apply Boolean property. Okay, that means you want to, okay, we can either make, there are two things we can add. We can add two properties to this particular text. So we can either make it to show or not show. So there could be instances where you don't want a paragraph to show, and you don't want you just want only your heading to show. So by how we are going to do it is still using the same Boolean property. So whenever you want an element to show or not show, that means you have to make use of adding the Boolean property that's true or off, that you want it to show or you want it to hide. So for this paragraph, we want to make it so that at some point we can easily hide our paragraph, or we can show our paragraph, or we can easily hide our heading, or we can show our heading. So you just go to each of them, and under this the appearance part, you can see apply Boolean property. So we don't want to link it to this show buttons, so that this show button is going to be on its own. We don't want to say once you are showing button, you must also show a paragraph. So you want to make it to stand on its own. Let this property be a standalone property. So you click on this create property, and it's showing that show paragraph. So you create it, show paragraph. So you can see once you go to your instance, you can see these properties that we've created. We have already included show paragraph. So we can hide the paragraph or we can show the paragraph. So the same thing with the heading. Let's also add the boolean to the heading. So on this appearance section, you click on apply boolean property. So we want the header to be a standalone. So we go to create paragraph and create property also, and it's already showing show heading. They want it to be true by default. So we create our property. So once we go to our instance, you can see all the properties we've created. The show, you can hide or show your buttons, you can hide or show your paragraph, and you can hide or show your heading. Or you can also change the icons that we've created initially. So this is our instance. So whatever that we do on our main components, we come to our instance to check if we actually implemented it or not. So now we are trying to let us try to make it so that we can have one that is hidden and the other one is now. So let's say plus, and then we want our buttons not to show. So this is when it is not collapsed, and this is when it is collapsed. Let's use minus since we are using plus already. This is when it's collapsed. So when a user just comes and then they click on this plus, it shows them this. It shows them it shows them the content of what is inside the card. So this is what we are trying to do. The non-collapsible card and the one that is now collapsed. So the hide content and the show content. So for this, we can like always play with all these properties that we've done. So far so good. We've created about 4 properties. The icons where we can change different icons, the booleans, that's the show buttons, the show paragraph, and the show heading. So on this part, so like I mentioned, we've not been able to make it so easy for us to change the text of each of them. So if we want to change we want to change say we want to change the text of each of these ones, it's going to always be very difficult for us to change it. So we are going to add the typography property. So on this, we'll select each of them. So let's select on this first one. So like I said, like everything you want to do, you have to go to your main component. So we want to add our text property to this main component. So you click on the heading. You are starting with heading. You click on the heading, and on this typography part, you can see on this icon, create text property. So we want to create text property on each of these text so that we can always come here and change this property is going to and change the contents of this text without having to come here to change it. We can just click on it and change from this part. So let us create the text property. So on this typography part, we select this create text property. So once you select it, let's make it, this is our first property. Let's make it header. and the value. So create property. So you go to your paragraph. You also create apply text property. You are trying to create a new one. So let's create a new property. Let's make it paragraph. So once we go to this instance now, you can see, okay, on this part, is not, the paragraph one is not showing. That the paragraph repeated is not showing because it was hidden. So once you show our paragraph, you can see the heading is showing and the paragraph is showing. So we can now change this content from this section without, let's change it to like UI design. So as you are changing it, it's already changing on this side. You don't have to come here to change anything. So the same thing with this second one. Let's change the header to UI design and let's put our paragraph to be today we are trying out components and variants, programs, variants and instance. So when I change this paragraph, it's going to reflect automatically on this our second instance. So you can see we have two instances here. The one that has not been collapsed and the one that is collapsed. So you can see, yeah, it's not showing everything because everything is not showing. So you can see on this part, it's showing show buttons, your icons, show buttons, show paragraph, show heading, the heading that have changed, and then your paragraph. So we can still change this. Let us change it to Lemon since it's about, it's no longer this is not a sign up page anymore. So we can change it to learn more. And let us just let's paste each of these. This is left, right. Let's make it 24. Okay, 24 is okay. So now that we have our two cards, the first one is show, and then the second one is not show. Then we want a situation so now we've gone through all these whole properties. So you can see properties. The first one we went through was text. We've created our text property. Second one was instance swap. This instance swap is these icons. Is these icons that we have here. That's our instance swap. And the other one we created was variants and our boolean. So we want to be able to, if you click on this card, for example, and then you click on this arrow, you can see we have the first row and then we have the second row. We have the first row and then we have the second row. And then we want a situation whereby we want to be able to expose, we have different elements. If you keep on going down, we have row, we have contents, we have heading, each of the headings, and each of these headings we have created different properties on these headings, particular headings. we have the show heading. That is, we want it to be able to appear or not appear. And on this typography, you have the header property. That means you want you to be able to change the content without coming in here. So we have different properties on each of these contents. So that means we want a situation whereby we will be able to expose each of these properties. However, no matter the amount of properties you have inside it, we want you to be able to expose every single one of them to our instances. So for just this single component, we've created about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 properties. So we want it so that all these properties that we've created is going to be exposed into all these instances that we have. That is where I'm going to now click on expose properties from nested instances. So whatever is inside this particular that we created before, we want to be able to expose it, and then we'll click on it. So you can see all these properties that we've created initially. So you can just highlight on each of them and then you expose it, or you can highlight on everything and then expose it, so that when you're now going to your instance, you can see all the properties that you've created. So for this one, you can see that it's now showing all the 4 properties that you've created on this particular heading. We have 2 instances and it's showing here your 2 heading. You can change your heading, you can change the style, even the style of this button, you can change it from white to gray. And on this other part too, you can also, you can only change it when you can also change the second one to white, or you can change it to gray, however you want to change. So all the whole properties, all the whole properties that you've created, you can see all of them on any of the instance that you're working with. So this particular instance is not showing everything because we are hiding and showing some of our properties. So if we make it to show, like every other thing is going to also show as well. So for this particular one, we are just trying to make it a particular one because it's showing everything that we created. So it's showing our buttons, it's showing our paragraph, it's showing our heading, and then we can now change the contents of these headings. So if we now want to link it, like remember that what a situation where once they click on this plus is going to prototype to, like, it's just going to change to this second card. So this is our first card and this is our second card. So we have to link this both of them as a variant. Not like the same way we've linked these 2 buttons for primary and secondary. So this is a let me just call this as a primary card and a secondary card. That's when one is showing and when one is not showing. So you want to be able to link both of them. So you highlight these 2, you highlight the 2 cards they are trying to link, and then you create, I don't know if you remember how we went through these 2 buttons, but let us go through it again. You highlight your 2 cards, you select your 2 cards, and then you create a component of it. So by creating components, okay, this is already a component. So you create multiple components. So you select on these 3 dots you have here. You select on these 3 dots that we have here to make, so instead of creating multiple components, you can just select each one and make each of them a component if you want to do that. But to make it faster, You can just select all the things you want to make a component, and then you click create create multiple components. That you want it to be a component on its own, that a single component. So you create multiple components, and then you can see this is components, the first one and the second one. So you select the two cards, and then you make it a variant. So the same way we just did for this one. The variant is that you want each, it is either this or this. It's either this or this. You cannot, except you want to show, if you want to show these two options on your design. That means you have to create it like two different components on your design to be able to show each of these cards. So since we are trying to make it either this or this, we have to combine as variants. So we combine as a variant, and then you can see this first one. This first one is this first one is when it's collapsed. Is when it's collapsed, yes. The second one is when it's not collapsed. The mic is on mute. So you can see that this particular this is schema is already showing you a warning. Some variants have the same property values applied. Change the values of, okay. So you can now change it. So let us change it to let's change it to expand. Since you're talking about both expand, and you can name it anything you want to name it. Since it's expand and non-expand. So this first one, that means the expand is false. That means it's not expanding. And this second one, the expand is true. That means it have expand. Then you can see if you now duplicate like either of these, let's duplicate either of these, and then you can see your expand, when your expand is true, is showing. If your expand is false, it's showing to be false. If your expand is true, it's showing it's going to be true. So whenever you're designing something and then you want to either show this, or when it does not expand, you just come here and you change your, you just can you guys hear me? Okay. I think it was my network. Okay. So I think you can see my screen. So like I was saying, this. So like I was saying, so on this particular one, remember that we created so many properties, but it's not showing. All our booleans that we created is not showing. So for us to be able to see it, we have to go to this main component. And then on these properties, we click on expose properties from nested instances. So once we click on it, and it's going to show all these cards, we click on the card for it to be able to expose everything on this card. Then we come to this place. So you can see that now we can now see all the whole properties that were created initially. We can now see all the whole properties that were created initially. So let us make an instance of this. So you can see on this, you can hide your heading, you can hide your paragraph, you can change whatever you want to change your text, and it's just showing however you want to change it. It's just a very easy way of working with components in your designs. So we have now successfully created a simple show card and hide card. So do we have any questions? So this week we are actually going to be talking more about using components for the whole of this week. So the best way to explain components is by actually designing something. So I decided to design a very simple card to be able to explain all these components, variants, boolean, and the rest of it to us. So do you have any questions?
Yes, good evening, ma'am.
Yeah, good evening.
Okay, my question is, I understand the two states you created. Before, I used to think that you need to prototype it, like from that plus sign. You needed to prototype it to the next one before it will show. So I don't know if there are two options or this is the best method by just creating the multiple component set.
Okay, prototyping is when you want to, like if you click on it, it will show the next one. If you click on this one, to show the other one.
Okay. Okay, so this one is just for when you are designing.
So I'm asking you, like, how do you mean prototyping?
Okay, you for the two cards, you made a multiple set of the two cards.
Mm-hmm.
So on the layer part, you're able to switch between two states, between when it's showing and when it's not showing.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, there was something you taught us last week. I thought
Mm-hmm.
that it's only when you prototype from the plus sign to this other one, that's when you can show the two different states. So I'm saying that, are they two different methods or this is a different thing?
No, this is a different thing. For that one that you are showing is when you want to go from. You can also use it for this one. Like if you want to go from a particular screen or a particular frame, like this particular frame now to this next frame, you have to click on it. So that one is you have to click on something to
Okay.
like it's as if you want to show a clickable prototype. So you use that one so that when they click on this, you show this. So like even if you say we have, let me just create a very simple. I don't know if you get to hear the question. So you want to use this now, and then you are having two. So this first one now is, let's hide everything. Mhm. Minus, okay, it's one place. So let's say you're trying to do something like this, Abby. and you want to prototype to the next page. Are you saying that you want to prototype to the next page, or you want to prototype on that same page? What are you asking?
You want to prototype to the next screen, like when you click on this plus, it should open up this one.
On the same screen or the next screen. So I think that particular one is a different instance altogether. Because if you want to, okay, let us still use the same, that one. Let's make it a different screen. Should we make it a different screen? Or make it the same screen? So let's say you want to use that method. You want so that when you click on this, it's going to show this. And when you click on this, no, this, you have to, I think I get what you're saying. Like, I think I get what you're, but let us try to create this outside. The problem is that this is already a component on its own. Let's try to make it its own components. Its own components so that to not take the properties from it. So let's try this. When you click on this, it takes you to this, and when you click on this, it takes you back to this. And
yeah,
let us now make an instance. Let's see if my network or not. Is this what you're asking?
yes. So now my question is, this second stuff you did and that first one you did, at what point do we use both of them? Because it's like this second one is done when you want to play a prototype, right? And the other one is done when you want to design. Is that what it means?
Yes,
Because they
yes.
are looking similar in a way. So
They're
that's why I
looking
was a little
simple
bit
way,
confused.
but you know that if you want to use this one, let's try to make a duplicate of this one, for example. If you want to use this one, let's try to use it here. Like, can you get the difference between this first one and the second one? Do you see what I did? So this first one is coming from this one is coming from our prototype, and the second one is coming from this side. Did you get? You get that is asking the question. Who is that, please? What's your name?
It's Kennel.
So that did you see the thing I just did right now?
Yes, I saw it.
Okay, so like I'm trying to show the different instances. So I duplicated from this first one that we've created. So let me
Yeah.
now try to see if you click on it, if anything is going to happen. So you can see it's not clicking. It's only on this one that I can click.
Okay.
So did I answer your question?
Yes, I get it now. So that means this first one, what you taught us in class today, is just used to create different states when you are designing.
Yeah.
Then the second one is for like when you want to play your prototype, when you're doing your prototype for it to show.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I understand it now.
Okay. So was I saying because Anastasia, bad network. Okay. Do we if we create properties only on a component to return on the instance, is like everything we need to do has to be on the components. Yes, like I kept on hammering. If you want to add any properties, you have to go to your main component to add it. So I can reflect on the instance. I think, do we have any other question? I don't think I have any. Are there any other questions? Munachi.
Hi, good evening, ma'am. Thank you so
Okay.
much for class. I actually enjoyed this class. But at some point I was lost. I don't know. When can we get the recorded video? Because I want to go through it.
Is your course rep you asked?
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah. But what part were you lost? Let me see if I can.
From the variant.
Which
Yeah.
particular variant? Is it the button or this
No,
one?
the card. The card.
Variant.
Yeah.
Okay. So do I have to the network? If like this network is something that no nobody can control. It's something that you just have to you want to just do it. I don't know, but thank God we have recorded class. So I don't know what I should delete this. So so this is our main component. This is our main component that have always been um mentioned. This is our main component. And whatever I want to do, that properties we want to add, we want to add it on this main component. So this variant is just for us to reuse the things that we've added on this main component. For this first one, say we want to make this first one when it's not collapsible. When it's collapsed, that means we are going to hide these buttons. And then this one is now when it's collapsed. So this is like our two options. Like the way we have the true and the false. So this is when it's collapsed, and this is when it's not collapsed. So these are variants, like how will I explain? Like it could be black or white. So these are two different options, and it can even be more than. It can even like I decide to have more than one variant, but these variants are all is that different instances of this component. So this first one now, we have the heading and the icon is showing. The second one, we can say, okay, we want only the heading and the paragraph to be showing. And then this second one, we want everything to be showing. So we can make it like this. But for since we're talking about just collapsing and non-collapsing, we need just two variants for this particular um picture that are trying to do. That's the collapsing and the non-collapsing. So if you highlight these two components and then these two, yes, like these two instances, and then we want to make it a single component of its own. So that we can create a variant. So we click on this create multiple components and then we combine them as variants. The variant is just the same thing we mentioned here. It's either this or this or this. So these are different variants of a particular component. So we combine both of them as a variant so that you can easily interchange it to the other one. You can interchange this. You want this one to to be minor. So we can easily interchange this and interchange the other one to be the other one. So on this first one, we want it to um to either be expand or not expand. So let us change our property name. Like I said, you can even use height. You can use any name, any naming thing you want to do. It's not a must that you have to use exactly what I did. For this first one, like I said, it has to be either this or this, either this or this. It cannot be both of them. So that means we want this first one to appear. We want this first one to appear when it's false, and we want the second one to appear when it's true. So when we now duplicate this particular instance and I use it on our design, like this our web page that I just showed, right in our design, we can easily toggle from this first one to this first one. We can easily expand, not expand. That is the essence of creating a variant of. So this is very useful for creating different instances of creating different states in our design. So in a place where it's collapsible, you can just click on don't the close expand, and in a place where you want it to show, you can just click on. So you are toggling between this and so this is a variant. These are variants for this particular component. So that's just particular variant. Then if you now want to expose all these properties that we've created, remember on this first one, we've created those properties. And then you now want to expose it, you just go to your main component. Now this is coming from here. So you go to your main component and then you click on this plus expose properties from nested instances. So once you expose it and then you go to your instance, you can now see all the whole properties that you were not seeing before. So you can now change whatever you want to change, and it's going to reflect on this your particular listing, and you can come here and change it whatever you want to expand, not expand. So whatever you want to, however state you want it to be, you can easily change it easily in your design. Did I hope I was able to convince you and not confuse you with this few points of mine. Who has a question? Who has the instance question? A bit variant question. Okay, Esther, let's hear from you.
All right, good evening, ma.
Yeah, good evening.
Yes, I wanted to say I was lost at some point, but I think this second explanation you did helped a little. I'm just going to go over the video again. My main question is not actually about this class but last class. Can I ask it?
Okay.
All right, so I'm having difficulty in clipping my content. Like if I clip the content, it's still not going to. I think I made progress with the first clip I did, but then the second one I was going to do, I keep having issues, like it was not clipping. I don't know if there's a particular size I need to be using, or maybe the length or something, because I did everything I was supposed to do. I followed the video thoroughly, and still, when I come to that part of clipping, it's just not hiding. It's not hiding. And when it's eventually hides, when I want to unclip and maybe view it, it's not coming up. So I don't know if I'm doing something wrong, or I don't know.
Are you sure that your frame is inside the entire frame?
that's
Like you,
that's another that's another issue I think that's another issue I was having. I think in the aspect of duplicating, it was just giving me another frame. Like when I put them in a frame and I try to duplicate, it's giving me maybe the first one is frame two one. Then if I duplicate, it's giving me frame two, so it's not attached to the first one. So I don't know if there's something I did wrong or something.
no, if you duplicate a frame, it's always going to give you a duplicate. Like this first one, from one, from two, from three. So it's always going to give you the next like it's going to increase the number. So that's not a problem. So but it's just to make sure that all your elements is actually inside the frame. Like this. You can you can find out by once you move this frame, it's everything inside moving along with it. So let's say for example this particular one, let's bring it out. Let's bring it out, for example. So this frame now is not inside it. And if you want to clip it, you can see that it's not clipping because this section is not inside this frame. And if you want to check, once you move this your frame, you can see that this other one is not moving, showing that these things was not even inside your frame. So you have to always bring in all your whole all your whole elements to be inside your frame so that whatever you are playing, it will reflect. You can see that now that it's inside, if you click on clip content, it's always going to click because it's inside the frame.
Okay, I'll try that again. Thank you, ma.
Okay. Nancy, let's hear from you.
Okay, good evening. My question is based on today's class. Can
Okay.
you hear me?
Yeah, I
Okay,
can.
so does it mean that every screen that you try to create, it has to be on auto layout? Because when you try to expand and collapse, won't the design or the card like overlap whatsoever detail or content you have beneath it? I don't know if you get what I mean.
Okay. Like the way we have, yeah, let's see. When you reduce it, this particular one is not
No, like when this design on its own, it's on a screen, like it's on a screen. So will you have to like the entire screen? Does it have to be on auto layout? So it's increases and decreases when the boolean is on true or false.
the entire screen. Like when you are designing, like this entire screen now, when you are designing.
Yes.
So you're asking if it should be on auto layout.
Yes, I'm asking if it should be on auto layout. So at this, what you designed as the true will not overlap or cover whatsoever content will be beneath it if it's collapsed.
No, it's not. When you are making, say you want to add this and this together, is the content that is inside every is the content that is inside your frame that you need to make an auto layout. So you have this first one and then you have this second one. Let me try to highlight it. Once you make these two an auto layout, the contents can never overlap themselves, no matter how you want to do it. The contents can never overlap themselves. I don't know why this thing is not. It's not showing here because I have to use this one. Let's say then we make a frame out of it. So you can see these two then if you want to make everything, so like if you go through post design, for example, you always be seeing like everything is inside the frame. All the whole content that is inside that frame is always on the layout, starting from the heading to the subheading to the content, and everything. So that however you want to change it, it's never going to the first is never going to overlap the second one. However you want to reduce your frame. You understand? Even if you want to reduce it, it's never going to overlap.
Okay.
It's only on that axe. Okay. I think, do you have any other question? I see so much. So this might be a little bit complicated, but we can. It's something that even before I learned how to use all these auto layouts and took me a while. So it's something that you can only learn by practice. You can't even learn it by just listening to me. You have to actually practice it. You have to actually try and practice it by yourself. So this week, I'm just going to only talking about components, and how to use components for this week. So I think I like saying this all the time. How did you collapse the first one? Make sure I understood this question. Collapse. Collapse. By collapse, do you mean do you mean like expand? You know what? I'm not sure I understood. I'm not sure I understood this question, but this is how collapse expand or show expand. And by collapse, it's just I've explained it before. I don't know if what is time now. If the patient comes with my last explanation. You can make a variant of these two, and then you make it to have either true or false. That you can easily expand or non-expand it. So I think with this, we have come to the end of the class, of today's class, on components, on using components. So in our next class, we're going to talk about prototyping, like interactive prototypes. So this is past time already. All right. I'm still expecting the group assignment. I don't know what our challenges are, but I'm still expecting the group assignment. And by Saturday, hopefully, I'll give another group assignment. So let's try to submit this last one before Friday. All right. Thank you so much.
Sorry. What do you mean we should tag you to the group assignments or we should do it individually?